A controversial Colorado bill is headed for the state Senate as Republicans are fighting to block it. That measure would add misgendering and dead naming, or calling your child by the name you gave it at birth, as acts of discrimination. It would also allow courts to consider these acts during child custody hearings. Here's the state's Republican House Minority Leader.
We have a God-given right as parents to raise our children in accordance with our values. And basically, the offense on this bill is the attack on parental rights, that if you don't follow a certain ideology, that you can be in violation of discrimination. It's just a bridge too far for parents. And I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican, or unaffiliated. Parental rights is an issue that transcends party lines.
Hey, I just want y'all to listen to this real quick because I was like, what the hell is going on? When I just seen this today. Apparently this just happened. I'm gonna see if I could find okay, this might not be the right bill. Hold on, let me see if it's the right bill. Alerting parents. Okay, let's read this. It says, let me read this real quick. Of course, Google and they shit. It says alerting parents the horrific bill passing through Colorado's legislature. Okay, because this came out today. A horrific bill is making its way through the Colorado legislature as we speak. Radical legislators are rushing the HB 1312 through the General Assembly under the guise of providing legal protections for transgender individuals. But far from protecting and allegedly discriminated against minority, so they're saying that that's not what this is doing. This bill could facilitate child protective services, kidnapping children from parents who refuse to affirm their child's gender identity. What the fuck? So CPS can come in and take your child if you don't identify your child's gender? But first, why wouldn't you identify your child's gender in the first place? If your child is going to school, you have to fill out forms and you have to get them ready for school, which means the school needs to know if we got plus 3, 4, 5, 6 girls coming this year, plus 3, 4, 5, 6 boys coming this year. This can make a difference with certain things according to how they do boys and girls in the school, but definitely for privacy purposes, like, using the restroom, maybe. How do they know what bathroom your child needs to attend if they don't know if your child is a boy or a girl? What the hell? If a child is going to a public school where they're going to be around other students, then they're going to be subject to that facilities, rules, policies, and things of that nature. If the rules are that the girls are to go to the restroom in the girls' bathroom, boys are to go to the restroom in the boys' bathroom, they need to know if your child is a boy or a girl, so that your child doesn't go into the wrong bathroom and then all hell break loose. Because that's what's going to happen. If your child is when your child is at home, and because you're not affirming your child's identity, when your child is at home, they're in their privacy. They can go to the bathroom and not have to worry about anybody else being in there with them. They don't have to be worried about being presented as one gender or the next if they're home. But when they get outside that door and go into public facilities, that is different. Because now you're around other people, and it's going to be awkward as hell if everybody else understands that going to school here means that girls have to be with girls when girls do things, and boys have to be with boys when boys do things, and boys don't get to participate in the girls' things unless it's something that is okay for that time period. No. What do you mean, parents who refuse to affirm their child's gender? Why are parents not affirming their child's gender? If your child comes out as a girl, then that your daughter is going to know that she's a girl. Why wouldn't she know that she's a girl? What? Since 2016, in various states, Child Protective Services has removed children from homes where parents refuse to transition their child.
Two moms, one from Colorado, wrote this opinion piece saying their daughters went through a phase of believing they were boys a few years ago, reaffirming their biological female identities now. They write, quote, "A bill under consideration in Colorado would define parents like us as child abusers. It is an assault on reality and on the foundational freedom that makes the United States a beacon of liberty." Erin Lee is a mom.
Oh, hell no. Y'all, I can't believe what the hell I'm reading. Child Protective Services has removed children from homes where parents refuse to transition their children. Who in the hell made y'all, anybody, to be telling parents that they have to transition their child? Who the hell? What the hell y'all got going on in Colorado? This bill, which has already passed the Colorado House, would formalize these practices by stipulating that in custody disputes, courts must take into consideration parents' dead naming and misgendering their children, likening it to abuse. What the hell? If my daughter is a girl, because she is, and she says, well, Mom like wearing dresses, I like wearing pants. Well, wear pants. You don't gotta wear dresses. Wear pants. What? I don't understand this. This don't make no sense to me. I had a girl, and you mean to tell me that I gotta transition my daughter where she's going to believe and be perceived as the gender that she's not? Why would I do that? Why the hell would I do that? She's a girl. She needs to know that she's a girl. No matter if she likes to do boy things, she still needs to know that she's a girl. Why the hell would I tell my daughter that she should have been a boy, that she's supposed to be a boy? I'm not telling her that. She came out as the gender she was supposed to come out as, a girl. What the hell? The bill also makes Colorado a destination state for parents who wish to harm their children with transgender drugs and surgeries. You mean parents who really don't care if their children identify in the sex that they came out in? They don't care. They want the child to be whatever sex they want the child as. It's not your decision. That's not your body. I don't care if you did have that child. That is not your body. That is that child's body. Why would you even subject a child to those types of changes anyway? We're talking about a child who's still growing, hasn't even formed. This is so sad that we even having to talk about this shit. I never thought this would ever be something that we have to discuss. What the fuck is wrong with parents that do not care about their own children's preference? Why are we subjecting children to such? This bill prohibits Colorado courts from complying with another state's law that authorizes a state agency to remove a child from the child's parent or guardian because the parent or guardian allowed the child to receive gender-affirming health care services. So this bill prohibits the Colorado courts. That means it would not allow the courts to comply with another state's law that a child should be removed from the care of their parent or guardian because that parent or guardian is allowing that child to receive gender-affirming healthcare services. So these people who are attempting to transgender their children through medicine and procedures don't want the courts to be able to remove their children because they're choosing to do so. How can this even be okay? Because I'm confused as to how this is okay for people to be doing to children. And if they're allowing something like this to happen, this shouldn't be paid for with taxpayer money at all. This should never be paid for with taxpayers' money because taxpayers are not agreeing to this shit. Not all of us anyway. So if not all of us are agreeing, none of us should be paying for this. None of us should be paying, and this is my opinion, none of us should be paying for these parents to have their kids receive gender-affirming care. No. That is a personal choice that those parents decided they wanted for their children. That's a personal choice. That has nothing to do with the public. So the public should not be paying for this shit at all. Let me just say that. So I hope that's not what's happening. That the states are using taxpayers' money to do this. This is I got to find the right word for what this is.
Of liberty. Erin Lee is a mom, and we welcome her back to the program. We've seen you on here before from Colorado. And Erin Friday is a mom and an attorney from Colorado. All right. Well, Erin, I'm sorry? California. Forgive me. My team was letting me know. Erin Friday. I'm going to start with you. Legally, how do you fight this? Where do you think you can win?
Well, legally, we have to fight this in the courts and we have to fight this in the press and let the press understand that this bill not only will determine that parents like Erin and I are abusers. Both of us had Child Protective Services come to our home when we refused to call our daughter males. But also this bill affects the press and its freedom of the press. And it will require the press to use the chosen name of a child, how they choose it, and any adult. And so it's a massive First Amendment violation. And so we need to fight this both in the courts, in the public domain, and of course, standing up at these legislative hearings.
Erin Lee,
these are parents making the choice after the fact to have the child or children that they really want, not the children that they have. I can only sum that up that way because I don't understand how a mother and father can look at the life they brought into this world and decide to take it upon themselves to change the sex of their child because they don't like the sex that they had. Or to have the child be raised in an environment that supports a child being comfortable outside of itself. Because that's exactly what's happening. I know for a fact that there are individuals out here that went through this gender affirming care service stuff where they were mentally and physically transformed into a gender or a sex that they don't identify as. These parents have created a system where they have made it policy. Made it a way of living. That their children will come up in environments like this, where the schools have to be on board with the same things that the parents are on board with. Even with things like gender. If the parents transition their children or decide to transition their children at home, they want that to be validated by the school system that their child is attending. Okay, y'all got problems coming because I don't understand why this is even an issue, but y'all got problems coming. There are mothers who don't agree to this. There are fathers who don't agree to this. You don't put your own personal issues on the whole fucking state. So the whole state now has to be, they have to be on board, or they have to go along with this bill. They are basically going to be indirectly, but directly affected by this bill because of this body of parents and students. So the whole state got to be subject to the same thing because of this body of students and parents that choose to. But this is ridiculous. It says if this wasn't bad enough, HB 1312 adds dead naming and misgendering to Colorado's Anti-Discrimination Act, prohibiting these discriminatory acts in places of public accommodation, mandating employees and businesses use false language and play along with the transgender dogma or else. Who in the fuck are these people? Who do they think they are? They're trying to tell everybody in Colorado that this is how it's going to be. So if their child or a transgender comes into a facility or has to work with an employee for whatever reason, has to be seen by an employee, serviced by an employee, whatever, that employee cannot cannot call them a gender that they're not. Instead, they want them to use false language. They want them to call them by the sex that they are presented as, whether that sex is actually the sex of the person or not. But people are not going to, when you're talking about school children, people are not not going to be tiptoeing over how they identify your child. I mean, they calling your child by its name. I mean, that's probably the best situation to deal with everybody. Call the child by its name. But when it comes to identifying whether or not a child is a girl or a boy, y'all doing too much. Y'all trying to have everybody treat your child the way you do. That is not realistic at all. And what kind of message are you sending to the child? That's not realistic at all when you're dealing with the public. That's not realistic at all when you're dealing with anybody outside of your house, outside of your family. Like, that's not realistic. But why would you try to make this a bill where it covers the whole damn state? Even if people don't agree with this, don't have no plans of changing the sex of their child by any means, they don't want to do that. You're trying to tell people that CPS can come into their house and just take their damn kids because they're refusing to transition their children. That is a choice that they can make as parents. They don't need you telling them that they got to change their children's sex, or CPS is going to take it away. CPS
Erin Lee, this is a full-on attack on parenting. I mean, when someone can enter your home and dictate what you can call your child, and by the way, with all the abuse, my mom was a social worker. There were many times she wished there were names that were not being called, and they didn't have anything to do with misgendering. Your take?
Yeah, well, this is personal for both of us. You know, both of our daughters were lured into this mindset that they'd been born in the wrong body in their public schools. And by the time we found out, we were bullied with that suicide myth. Would you rather have a living daughter or a dead son, or a living son or a dead daughter? And now this is giving the authority to our state to take our children away if we don't agree with these gender transitions. And so it's got huge ramifications for all parents, especially those in custody situations who are fighting with their ex-spouses to stop their children from being medicalized. But it opens the door for all parents to potentially have their children forcibly removed by the state if they're not willing to affirm their child's mental health distress. And as we learned with our daughters, that was a very damaging mindset. I mean, they fell into a deep, dark pit of confusion and depression that was caused by this secret gender transition. And so it's terrifying to think that parents like us, good, loving parents, could lose custody of their kids here in the state of Colorado for not going along with this mental health distress.
Erin, Friday, I know
I don't get it. Like, I'm sorry, but I don't get it. I'm like, what am I reading? What am I reading? It says the legislators' cloak and dagger tactics have given opponents little time to organize resistance. They're trying to push this so fast that people are not able to come up with opposition. I'm recording, but they're not able to come up with opposition. They're not able to come up with fighting points. They got to. That's how fast they're trying to move on this. It's no different than whatever this judge in the Supreme Court is doing. They're trying to do weird shit here. I don't understand. It says the bill was introduced late on Friday, March 28th. On Monday, a committee hearing was scheduled for the following day. Despite the rushed schedule, over 100 people testified against the legislation. I would have too. The bill passed out of committee with a 7-4 vote along party lines and was quickly approved by the full House. It says not that Democrat legislators care much what the other side thinks anyway. They have labeled opponents of the bill hate groups. You labeled opponents of the bill hate groups. They're hate groups. Why? Everybody's not a part of a group. First of all, everybody's not a part of a group that may be opposing this bill. But don't call them hate groups because they don't agree with the bill. I noticed that's something that this party does a lot. When people do not agree with them, the first thing they do is throw these words out there: bullying, hate. Pro-family groups echo hateful rhetoric against the trans community. I mean, I don't know about all that, but you pushing it, trying to make everybody, you're trying to make everybody support this bill. No. What in the world? It says it's not hateful to make sure the government can't rip children from the arms of a parent who believes in biological reality. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a parent deciding that they had a girl and their girl is going to be a girl. There's nothing wrong with that. And who won't participate in mutilating their child with life-altering transgender drugs, hormones, and surgeries. I would never do this to my child. Me thinking that what I'm doing for my child was in the best interest of my child would mean that I considered my child. And that means in the future too. We all know that in the moment, you may be feeling this way. But what about when this moment is gone? You're more mature now. You've lived a little bit. That's the type of shit that you need to be thinking about before you decide to do something like this to your child. And this is in my opinion. Because children don't know yet. They're still growing. It's a lot that they're figuring out. And that includes who they are. What the hell is wrong with waiting? What's wrong with that? Accommodating in less dramatic ways where you're not altering their body, changing up their hormones, creating the chemical reaction that you may agree with as parents. Are you that sure that the child is going to appreciate it? I don't even understand why this is even something that we need to be talking about, because these are children. These are not grown-ups. These are children. And I cannot believe that people are altering their children. They're altering their children before their children even become adults. They're altering them. So you really won't find out if this was more of the parents doing than the child's doing until the child becomes an adult. Because until then, the parents really have the obligation and responsibility to their child. But when that child becomes an adult, it's going to find out whether or not what happened to it is something that it can continue to support or not. And what happens if your child decides, this is not me, this is not what I want? I don't agree with this at all. I would never do this to a child, ever. I wouldn't. And I don't agree with this bill. I'm not in Colorado, but I would not ever agree with this bill, ever. Because a transgender child is something that is personal to the parents and the child. That is a personal matter. The public does not have anything to do with that decision. But they're trying to make the public just as much responsible as they are with this decision. So the parents of Colorado are saying that they refuse to comply. They will oppose every attempt to destroy their parental rights, because that's what this is. When you're trying to force other parents to do what you're doing as parents for your child, you don't get to force other parents to do that. And I don't understand why anybody would try to force a parent to change the gender of their child. Why would you do that? and this is regardless if you're happy with the gender of your child, I guess. If you're happy with the gender of your child, they're saying no, never mind that. Either socially transform or medically transform your child. Colorado, y'all sure y'all want to do this? Because I think y'all gonna lose a lot of people. I think y'all gonna lose a lot of money as well. Are y'all sure y'all want to do this? Because I don't think that this is okay at all. It says that this is an urgent matter. The state Senate may schedule a hearing on the bill as soon as Good Friday. Hoping to catch Christians unaware or asleep. And that's for people who are religious. Or they may try to jam it through on the final day of legislative session on May 7th. So I suggest y'all be paying attention if you live in Colorado and you're dealing with this right now. I think y'all really do need to be paying attention. And I think y'all need to understand what this means if this bill gets passed as well. They are trying to have CPS. They're trying to have it to where CPS will have the authority to come in and take your child. If you're not willing to socially or medically transform your child, that's exactly what this says at the top. Child Protective Services, it says since 2016, Child Protective Services has removed children from homes where parents refuse to transition their child. How in the hell can CPS even have this authority to do this? To go into parents' home and take their kids because the parents would not socially or medically transition their child. You had to change the child's name, make it a different name, a name that's probably gender neutral or something, or you have to use pronouns, not he and she, but they and them. Or you would medically have to change your child, get them surgeries and whatnot. We're talking about children. We're talking about children. But the bill that they're trying to pass would make it formal, meaning they have it on black and white that this is what has to happen, or your child will be at risk of being taken because you didn't do this. If you're going through custody disputes, the courts must take into consideration parents' dead naming and misgendering their children like it's abuse. So like say for instance, your child, the child is, one of the parents consider the child a girl, or is getting the child medically transitioned, or has socially transitioned the child into believing that it is not the sex that it was born as. That's one parent. One parent is supporting it. So one parent may be calling the child them or they. The other parent may not be doing that. May instead be calling the child what it is, what it was born as, he or she. They're saying that the parent that's calling the child what it was born as, the he or she, is the one that is abusing the child. And not only that, but this bill would allow parents from other states to come to Colorado if they want to transition their children. And then the Colorado courts wouldn't be able to comply with another state's request to authorize that CPS move or a state agency move the child from that parent or guardian.
Erin Friday, I know I kind of kept it legal with you, but you have experience in this lane as well as a mother. And I want to know, and I know Erin Lee was just talking about this a bit, maybe you can go deeper. What is the harm risk to the child when you can't even tell your parents what you're going through at school? And now to take it further, as they sort of transition and maybe not transition, you can't be who you are as a parent.
Well, it's extremely dangerous, as Erin said. Let's define what a transgender child is, because that definition really needs to be ferreted out. That is a child who has acute distress about their natural body. So this is a child who is in acute distress. And then this child is told that they could be born wrong. And then on top of it, they are told that their parents who look at them and love them as their natural selves are bigots and horrible people and hateful people and don't deserve to be their parents. This is a bipartisan issue. It should be a bipartisan issue. I am a lifelong Democrat, and I have been fighting for parental rights now for 5 years against this gender ideological Borg that is attacking families like us. Here in California, we have parents who have lost custody of their kids, parents who are together because they refuse to transition their children.
Well, I have to say this, your side of the political aisle is in leadership in many of the areas where issues like this are being fought. It is hard all around. I appreciate you both. Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily.
So these people want to be able to do whatever they want to do with this child or these children. They want to do whatever they want to do with the child. And they don't believe you should have anything to do with that. And they're trying to make a bill, put a bill out there that will prevent you, even as a parent, from doing anything about what they're doing to their child. Which I don't even think that it should be happening if both parents are not in agreement in the first place anyway. It should not even happen. That's my opinion. But overall, I don't condone any of this shit. Because this is weird. I never thought this would be something people would have to be worried about. But this is sad that Colorado people, they're trying to make everybody, they're trying to make a one-size-fit-all situation based off of one group of people. That is not okay at all. This is sad. And I hate that the people in Colorado have to go through this right now. But parents should not be told what to do with their children by no damn state. Not when it has something to do with them transitioning their kids or being threatened with CPS taking them. CPS should, y'all give the problem that we still trying to correct the issue in the first place with fucking CPS. I told y'all CPS was going to be having problems this whole damn year. It's so much shit we trying to get together now with CPS, and then we're hearing this, that y'all trying to give them extra authority to come in and take people's kids because they want their kids to be identified as the sex they are, as the gender they are. So it's almost like you won't be punished if you transgender, but you will be punished if you're not transgender. That's how I'm looking at this. This bill is in favor of transgender or transitioning children and trying to make it so that the other parent has no legal course to take if they're not in agreement. This is about the child or the children. Why are we messing with their bodies? Why are you doing experimental drugs with their bodies? Why are you performing these types of surgeries on a child? A child who hasn't even had a chance to come into who they really are. How a child is feeling when they're in primary school is not how a child is feeling when they get to high school. It's not always like that. But what about when they're in high school and can't stay in grade school and graduate, and then they go to college? And it's a whole nother atmosphere. And then they realize, I don't like this. Now they done had all these surgeries, all these drugs in their system, hormones all over the place, jacked up. These, I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine. Because who's helping these children when they get outside of their parents? Their parents making all these decisions. Why are they kids? Who's helping them make all these decisions when they get out of their parents' house? Are their parents going to deal with the aftermath of when they become adults and hate what has happened to them? Are their parents going to be there for that? Because that's what I want to know. Are their parents going to be there for that? Are they going to be there for the aftermath? Oh, this is horrible, y'all. This is horrible. And I can't wait to see what comes about from this, but I really hope that this bill does not pass. I hope it does not pass. And I don't live in Colorado, but if I did, I'd be making plans to leave and fighting this shit just in case it don't, and just in case it go through, because this right here is horrible. I don't wish this on any child ever. And I think this is selfish. I think this is very selfish to transition a child. It's very selfish to me. It's selfish to me, and that is my opinion, but I will always stand by what I said. Parents deciding to transition their kids is a personal decision, and at no point should that be a public problem. So I don't agree that they should be allowed to use taxpayer money to do this at all, because all taxpayers would never, all of them would never agree to do this. So if all of them wouldn't agree, then none of them should be, I believe that none of them should have to pay for this. So this shouldn't come from taxpayer money. If you want to medically change your child, I don't agree that it should come from the government, because that would mean that taxpayers are paying for your child to receive physically altering drugs and surgeries. I'm not signing on for that. I'm not a taxpayer that's signing on for that. Because they might not like being a girl when they're in from kindergarten to 6th grade. You done messed around and started messing with their hormones and getting them surgeries and things like that. And when they get to high school, hormones really kicking in, they realize they don't want a mustache. A mustache is not it. They done filled out, and now they have breasts but a mustache. They're looking better. They look better after they shave their mustache. They looking better as a female. Now what? This is not okay, y'all. This makes my stomach hurt. I could not ever do this to my children. Ever. I could never do this to my children. I would try to bring them comfort. I would try to do things with them outside of altering, because these could be life-altering changes to their bodies. Outside of doing all of that, I would work with them. I would do things with them. I would get them into a comfort zone they can deal with. And as a parent, I would deal with that until they were old enough to make that decision for themselves. And it definitely wouldn't be before high school. Definitely wouldn't be before high school. Because we're talking about children. I cannot believe that this bill, y'all, please don't this bill does not need to pass. It does not need to pass. Do not take away the rights of these parents who want their biological gendered children to remain that way. They want to cause confusion with other people's children to sort of normalize the environments that their children are in. Could you imagine what that would do to a child? Y'all were children. Y'all know what school was like. You were already dealing with so much as a child. different teachers, different students, different classes, different types of learning. It's so much you're taking in as a child. You're learning all the way up through high school about yourself and about people around you and about things, life period. You're learning so much. And at the same time, you got chemicals going into your body. You got people around you speaking to you in pronouns and not your name. Y'all, I can't no more with this. This is making me upset. I would not advocate for this bill ever. And I really hope that this bill does not pass. That's what I have to say about it.